All right, people, we're back. Victory and Vices podcast. Me, Rory Spooner. James Veck is with me again. Reece Henley will be back next week. Scheduling conflicts means he couldn't be here tonight. But we got all the latest news and views. So thank you again for tuning in. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, feel free to do so. Smash a like button as well, so this goes into the algorithms too. All right, so let's get started. So the big news over the weekend, and it was unfortunate news for the individual involved, was Virgil van Dijk. Now, let's just start off by saying one thing. Virgil van Dijk, it was a very cruel turn of events because it's one of those things. It's a freak incident, right? And let's start by saying Jordan Pickford was all the way wrong, accidental or not. It was an absolutely horrendous challenge, right? Yeah. But Virgil van Dijk is still alive. He's not dead. Liverpool fans, he will be back at some point. Just initially, Becky, your take on the whole scenario that unfolded with Pickford and Van Dijk.
Yeah. So obviously, as you know, and as most people know by now, just by scrolling through social media, even still today, when the game was, when was it? Was it Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
So all these days later, it's still very popular amongst Twitter, even Facebook, the Virgil van Dijk news. So it is an unfortunate scenario. You're absolutely right in terms of the tackle itself. Whilst I don't think Jordan Pickford actually means to do the damage that he's done, he's absolutely come in very recklessly and without any real regard for Virgil van Dijk. And I think the uproar that we're seeing shows how big of a centre-half that he is for Liverpool, how important he is for that defence, and how short on options they are without him. And, you know, you could have taken maybe Matip or Gomez out of them and they would have been short on options, but you still got Van Dijk. But you take Van Dijk out and he is the main man. So Liverpool fans are concerned how they're going to get on without him, and rightly so. However, and this isn't all Liverpool fans, and every club has these type of groups of fans that like.
They do.
And I think the situation is worsened for a couple of reasons. One, because it's Jordan Pickford, and he just is generally coming under a lot of criticism at the moment for being a little bit flaky, a little bit careless, just in general with this goalkeeping.
Yeah.
So you take that into consideration, and you also add in the fact it was a derby. And then, so that's why you've probably got fans thinking, you know, he's done it on purpose. You know, you switch that, say they play in Burnley and it's Nick Pope, for example, a goalkeeper that's not under criticism, and I don't think we get this uproar anywhere near the same. But obviously that's not the case. We are getting this uproar. There's Liverpool fans calling for police action, calling for him to be arrested, etc. I've seen some very humorous posts on social media. Like you said, Virgil van Dijk is very much alive and kicking. He's very healthy, you know, apart from his ACL, and he will be back. So I think it is unfortunate, Liverpool fans, but you can't cry over spilt milk. You've got to get on with it. And if anything, it kind of highlights that maybe they should have addressed their sort of defensive numbers in the last window, because it's a long way till January now with just the centre halves they've got.
Yeah, do you know what's really interesting about that is I think everybody kind of felt like Liverpool needed another centre half. Like Matip is a good player. That's all he is, though. He'll never be a world-class player. He is your traditional third or fourth choice centre half. Joe Gomez is a very good young player. I know his form has been sketchy, but Joe Gomez is a talented boy. But Joe Gomez now is at that stage of his career where it's kind of sink or swim for him now, because his injury record isn't great, and he's always had Big Bro beside him. You know, Big Bro's put an arm around him, Van Dijk, and guided him through the games. He's going to have to step up now. And this is where it'll really make or break his Liverpool career, because if he steps up and he does well, Liverpool can still win that title. But if Joe Gomez doesn't play well, he can't find his form, and he can't manage his fitness, that's a problem for him. Going back to what you're saying about, obviously, the defensive signings, traditionally, right, you would look at, you know, great Premier League sides. They've always had a centre-back partnership, which has been kind of impeccable, and they've had a solid goalkeeper behind them. And Liverpool have always missed that component. they've always been missing that solid centre-half to partner Van Dijk. Some people would even go as far as to say Fabinho might be the best centre-half pairing with him. And he is, again, a very useful player. But when you do put him at centre-half, you kind of lose something in midfield. So they're quite lucky in the sense that they have a lot of midfield options that can replace Fabinho, and he can drop back if he needs to. But I'm very surprised, I'm with you, bro, that they didn't address that and go, right, let's get another centre-half. Because you can take Salah or Mane, shall I say, I beg your pardon. You can take either one of them out the side, and I'd be quite confident the other one would make up for what's missing. But you take out Van Dijk, all of a sudden you're like, well, who's our go-to guy now? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
And the thing is as well, they brought in Thiago, which is obviously going to help because, as you rightfully said, they can look at dropping Fabinho back into centre-half. And he has shown qualities in and around that position, which would give off a good vibe that he could take up that position, similar to what Guardiola's asked of Fernandinho perhaps in the past, to slot back in. And obviously Thiago will, can fill that hole as well in midfield perhaps. But like we saw with Fernandinho, they can do a decent job, but they're not a centre-half.
Yeah.
They aren't a centre-half. They can fill in. Michael Carrick played centre-half for United a couple of times, did a decent job, but they're not a centre-half.
Yeah.
And the other problem they've got at the moment, I'm not sure in the Alisson situation, but they've had Adrian in for the last few games, and he hasn't looked great. We know that. We know that he isn't a great goalkeeper. So, you look at the fact that when they brought in Alisson and Van Dijk, those were perhaps the two main inclusions in that defence and goalkeeping area, which helped get them over the line for the title.
Yeah.
You take Van Dijk out, that's a huge miss. Without Alisson as well, that's a totally different backline you're dealing with there.
Yeah, the Alisson situation is interesting too, because I'm just reading now. It says he's ahead of schedule as he returns from a shoulder injury. I read the other day he was out for 2 months, but maybe that's progressed a little quicker than anticipated. But it's going to be interesting for Liverpool. Man City's entire title challenge collapsed on the basis that really Aguero and Laporte weren't there. And you just think that Liverpool side, I've always wondered if they get key injuries to players that have been consistent over the past 2 years, how would they sort of go? And this, their title charge is not over by a long shot, right? This season has a lot of legs in it. It's going to go to the wire, I think, because a lot of teams are going to take chunks out of each other. But Liverpool have a decision to make now, because reading The Athletic earlier on, it seems like Virgil van Dijk's injury is actually worse than first anticipated, and Virgil van Dijk is going to be out until probably the start of next season. So he may even miss the Euros as well, which is unfortunate for him because it would be a great platform for him to kind of showcase his talents. But yeah, I wanted to obviously run a few bits by you, bro, in terms of signings. Do you think Liverpool should make a signing now in January?
I do. I think they have to. There's been a few rumours about someone like Conor Cody. I think he is a Scouse himself, so there is that link that he would potentially be interested in that move. I don't know his contract situation or anything like that.
Yeah.
But obviously he's an England international now, and he's doing very well, and he's England international. So he would be perhaps an option that I would look to, because I can't really see him turning down a move to Liverpool. But there's not a lot of fantastic centre halves out there, especially now they need them more than ever. But they're definitely going to need to dip into the transfer market in January. But January is still a long way away. We're only just coming up to the end of October now, so that's a lot of football to be played without the ability to make a replacement signing. So yes, they do need to dip into it, absolutely. But who they go for is slim pickings. Cody would perhaps be one I would highlight.
Well, let's run some names by you then, because I wanted to go over a few bits with you regarding it. Because what I think they need is A, someone who can replace Van Dijk, and B, someone who can partner him when he comes back from his injury. Will Van Dijk come back as the same player? It's difficult to say. I think he's around 30 now. With an ACL at that age, he's probably only got maybe 3 or 4 seasons left at the top anyway. So it's an interesting development regarding his sort of career. I mean, modern medicine, look, he'll be back running and, fingers crossed, early next year, and he'll build up some strength in it. And I never, even if I don't support Liverpool, I never wish people bad in their career. I don't like to see things like that. It's the whole thing. We won't go into it in too much depth, but Pickford, he was pretty reckless. It's just Jordan Pickford. He's just a clumsy fucker like that, isn't he? But with the signings, so going back to who's available now, come January, a lot of clubs know Liverpool are going to need a centre half, which means you're going to have to shell out an extra 10 or 15 million to get who you want. I don't think Liverpool, they're quite frugal, so I don't know if they'll necessarily be willing to break the bank to get something that they may or may not need, depending on what Jurgen Klopp wants. So I've got a few names for you, bro, right? So we can kind of rule them out maybe one by one, or we can give them a green light or give them a yay or nay. The first name that came up, which again, price-wise is going to be quite expensive because there's an English tax, is Ben White. What do you reckon about Ben White? Do you think he'd be a good shout?
Yeah, potentially. You look at Leeds seemed quite keen to keep him, and he's looked decent at Brighton, but Leeds ultimately got priced out of that. So I wouldn't be against it. I just think that is a bit of a leap, because you look at last season, he was playing Championship football, albeit very well at that level. And he's done okay to make a step up to Brighton, but to go to a team that's contended the Champions League and the Premier League, perhaps with very little Premier League experience, I think is a bit of an ask.
Yeah.
But then, like I say, sometimes experience isn't everything. You look at Dele Alli, Joe Gomez when they first, James Maddison. We've said it before. It's not everything experience, because it can be done, these jump ups, but like you say, it's a time where Liverpool will need to make a good decision, where they're going to be paying all the odds, and they can't afford to get this wrong. So, yeah, it wouldn't be against it. It wouldn't be near the top of my list.
Yeah, it wouldn't be top of my list either. I think the general consensus was Liverpool in the summer were very interested, but it was around 50 million that the price tag Brighton wanted, which is a bit of a no-go. And January time, I don't think Liverpool would pay that. Maybe next summer, depending on how he does. But I'm with you. I kind of rule Ben White out for now. So, I can never get this geezer's name right. You know what I'm like with names, right? So my apologies to the Turkish community in advance, right? Because I already know I'm going to probably say it wrong. But Kagler Soyuncu, am I saying that right, bro? Because I spot on. Hey, look, I still got it, right? I still got it. The linguistic king. Right, so Soyuncu. Now, again, very interesting signing because he's currently out for 3 months with an abductor tear. Now, he will come back around January time. And again, he's a very solid centre-half. If you wanted him, Leicester fans will probably name their price, but I think a reasonable price for him would be around 40 million. He's got Premier League experience. I'd go as far as to say he's probably Champions League ready as well. So what do you reckon on Soyuncu?
Yeah, so Lord Farquaad, we refer to him as sometimes, don't we, Soyuncu? Yeah, so the only thing that puts me off more than anything else about this one is his current injury. So the thing is with Leicester players is that, like you say, they'll usually say name your price, and the price will sometimes be fairly reasonable because they don't tend to put up much of a fight to sell in Leicester. At all. You look at the players that have gone there. So you've probably got a good to great chance of making that signing. And I do like Soyuncu. He has shown signs of clumsiness at times, but then, as is the position of centre-half, there's very few centre-halves in world football that don't show clumsiness now and again. So I would give a thumbs up on that one. However, he's out for 3 months, so that will bring him, what's his sort of return time, around January?
I'd say around January, give or take, maybe mid-January.
Yeah, I think they would have to be keeping tabs on that situation because depending on when in January he comes back is important because you don't want to maybe shell out 40 million on someone who's just returning from injury, whether you've got that vulnerability. So, I'd normally give him a thumbs up. I think that one could work, injury dependent.
Okay, interesting. So I'm kind of with you on that as well. I wouldn't go for Ben White. Soyuncu would be further ahead in that list. Now, the standout two. Now, these two centre-halves, I'd be very surprised if they're with their clubs next summer, because before we came on, me and Becky were discussing the Real Madrid score. As it stands, they're losing 3-0 at home. So when you look at the top clubs, they all need centre-halves. Real Madrid need a centre-half. Barcelona need a centre-half. Manchester United probably need another one. Liverpool need one. Chelsea need one. Spurs might need another one. Arsenal definitely need another one. So there's going to be big demand, I think, for these two names. So Liverpool fans, again, let us know your opinion. I've seen the comments below. So I'm going to start off with Upamecano. Now, everybody's favourite young centre-half. Again, he can complement Van Dijk very well. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He can play out from the back. He can play the back three. He can play the back two. The issue Liverpool have is, I think Leipzig right now are top of the German league, and they're doing okay in the Champions League. So mid-term, trying to get someone of his caliber is very difficult. Also, from what I heard, Becky, too, on the grapevine, his contract, there's a release clause for around 40 million euros next summer.
Yeah.
So instead, you could buy him in January and pay over the odds. You could offer 60 to 70 million and get him then. Or you could wait until the scrum that arrives next summer. So what do you reckon to our boy Upamecano?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of this guy. I think most people are. I know you are. I think Reese is as well. He said many a times that we've spoken a lot about Koulibaly in the past, and I know Reese has been quite vocal after watching him in the Champions League that he would take Upamecano over Koulibaly every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. So we're all big fans of his. My understanding as well is that United made inquiries about the Upamecano deal this summer, and I know United like to make a lot of inquiries because they are Inquiry FC.
Yeah.
But they understand that they did, and what they kind of got back from that was that it wasn't really looking possible to do a deal at the moment. Playing the numbers game on it, that it just wasn't feasible, and that next summer was going to be where a deal could be done. So I don't know how much that really changes come January. I still think it would be difficult. I think you'd have to offer an astronomical amount of money compared to what you would in the summer. But like you say, there will be a scrum over him, because he's probably one of the most sought after centre-halves in the world. So it's up to you. Do you want to pay a huge amount of money in a climate where there's not a lot of money in January? Or do you want to wait and take your chances come the summer? But as you say, you've got clubs like Real Madrid, Manchester United, that when push comes to shove, have a lot of money to throw around, which is probably more money than what you have to throw around. Do you really fancy your chances? I would like to say that Upamecano would end up at like a Madrid or a Barca or a United, a club that'll have that sort of money come next year. So I think he'd be absolutely unbelievable sign. If they could pull that deal off, then I think that's the best Van Dijk replacement you're going to get, really. But I just don't think that deal's possible in January.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. January's going to be a struggle for Liverpool to recruit a centre-half. The centre-back I've looked at for Liverpool myself. Now, I've mentioned him in my Manchester City videos. I believe you might have mentioned him in a Chelsea video or Man City one as well. We've spoke about him so much, it's ridiculous. And that is Jose Jimenez at Atletico Madrid. I think he complements Van Dijk brilliantly. I think if you look at the top 5 centre-halves in world football, Jimenez is in there. It's not even a debate in my eyes. Liverpool would have to shell out an awful amount of money to get him. But what you have is someone that can A, complement Van Dijk and play alongside him, and B, lead the defence when Van Dijk isn't there. I think Jimenez, how no one has snapped him up right from Atletico, I just don't know. The guy is an absolute beast. He has all the attributes they need. Yeah, so what do you reckon, bro?
So we've spoken about in previous videos, as you said. So, I'm a fan of him. And when he plays for a club like Atletico Madrid, we all know what it's like to play against Atletico Madrid. Not personally, obviously. But you know what you get when you come up against Atletico Madrid from a defensive standpoint. And they are stubborn. they're extremely stubborn and they're very well defensively drilled. And you could argue a lot of that is down to having someone like him at centre half. So his defensive sort of discipline and background under Simeone is second to none, I would imagine. So yeah, he would be another one that could come in and take over that Van Dijk sort of deficiency, I would say, quite comfortably, as long as he could adapt to the Premier League. So yeah, that was one I didn't think of when I was mentioning Upamecano. But yeah, he would be towards the very top of your list. How much he would be going for, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure his contract situation, but how old is he? You know,
he's 26. Bro. He's only 26.
Very good age. Yeah. So yeah, you'd imagine probably north of 50 million. Someone like him.
I'd say that might even be a world record fee. I genuinely think that might be another world record fee for a player. But I mean, if Liverpool is serious about, again, maintaining their, Premier League sort of status as champions and going again for the Champions League, they may have to bite the bullet, be it in January or in the summer. But yeah, Liverpool fans, let us know your opinion on it. Who is the centre half that you would choose? So we want to know your opinions on it. We give a rundown of a couple there. We didn't mention Koulibaly, but I mean, you could throw him in the mix as well if you wanted to. I imagine there's a few others. So we'll leave Liverpool where it is. Again, very interesting topic. I think it's going to really shape the season as it goes on. From one centre-back situation to another now. Manchester United. We talked about Upamecano going to Manchester United. And Manchester United, what they've lacked is a mobile centre-half. Someone that is pacey, someone that's athletic, someone that's dominant, someone can play the ball out to the back. Well, lo and behold, one night in Paris, Axel Tuanzebe shows up after 10 months out and just goes home with full pockets because Mbappe was in one, Neymar was in the other. He just handled everything beautifully. Now, I may have to cut this clip out and call it the future of Manchester United because what I saw last night, bro, was the future of Manchester United. And it made me think, do they need another centre-half if they can keep this guy fit? I still think they do. But what was your take on his sort of performance last night?
Yeah, so obviously I'd say, first of all, you might not want to get too carried away because Reece will be absolutely digging you out as he normally does.
He digs us out. I don't think he's ever agreed with anything I've said anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But obviously watched the game last night. Was very pleasantly surprised. He looked ever so comfortable, really, really comfortable. Playing away in the Champions League. Not forgetting that I think that's his first game in 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months. I think Colchester was his last game, 2019. So
yeah, you're playing against, no disrespect, but a no-name, probably a semi-professional footballer. Was your last game, and then obviously your next game you're against two of the best attacking players in the world, Mbappe and Neymar. So he was pretty much as close to a complete performance as you're going to get against players like that. And yeah, there's a lot of sort of analysis saying that both of them were off colour a little bit. Perhaps they were, but you've also got to give credit to not just that defence, but the way that Tuanzebe, or Tuanzebe, as we're calling him, marshalled them sort of out of the game a little bit. So yeah, as you said, full pockets he came home with. But I'm sure he's had one or two good performances in the past. So we definitely need, as you say, a mobile centre half because Harry Maguire's got the turning circle of a London bus.
Mm-hmm.
Lindelof's not much ahead of him. Bailly obviously is a lot quicker, but he's totally injury prone, as we know. So he is looking like, especially short term, our best option. I just hope that he can sort of build on that now. And, we play Chelsea on the weekends. If he's going to get a start, you just hope that he backs it up with another disciplined performance. Because if he does, and he can put performances together against the likes of PSG, Chelsea, then I see a good future for him.
Yeah. Do you know what was interesting last night is that he thrived in a back five. In that back five, but in fairness now, what I will say, I won't go too overboard, right? But what I saw was, as you say, as close to a perfect performance as you can get under the circumstances. There was a few times when he was running alongside Kylian Mbappe, and I thought, ooh, what's going on here? What, don't be too rash, because if I was Eric Bailly, Mbappe's in row Z, right, and there's a penalty given away. And I like his composure, but playing in that back five, he had a lot of protection with the sort of defensive pivot in front of him, McTominay and Fred.
Yeah.
It did offer him a lot of protection. I'd be interested to see how he does in a two-man defence with one defensive midfielder in front of him. But I think he has the athleticism and the football brain to kind of cope with what would be there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an incredible performance. One, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't expecting. I don't think a lot of people were expecting it. Does it rule out United needing another centre half? No. I would ship out Eric Bailly. I'd ship out Rojo. I would relegate Lindelof probably to maybe a third or fourth choice. And I'd have an Upamecano come in a heartbeat again. But it was a positive, bro. I mean, there was lots of positives, right? It was a very good performance. But Tuanzebe, man alive, like the way he just handled it. And I know we went over in the WhatsApp group as well. That PSG team, for the money they've spent, their lack of depth is quite frankly disgusting. It's just there's nothing there behind the front three. I mean, it's ridiculously bad. But Tuanzebe, United fans, let us know your opinion. What do you think? Is he the future? Would you still get another centre half? If you're keeping him in the team, who do you partner him with? Do you partner him with Maguire, Lindelof? Do you go in a back three and maybe have Shaw as a left-sided centre half along with Telles at left back, who did very well? So yeah, let us know your opinions on it. It was an incredible performance. So Tuanzebe and other centre backs aside, FPL time. Oh yes, FPL. Now I know FPL with us is getting more and more popular. It's getting more and more views, more and more traction. We had plenty of people join the league, so shout out to all of you as well. Now, just to go over the V&V residents, shall we say. Now, I ended the game week on 79 points. Becky, you ended on 57 points, and Reese Henley ended on 49 points, which now puts my total at 276. Becky, you're at 246, and Reese is at 304. Now, none of us are top. The top person, and again, apologies if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, bro. Feel free to get in touch with us as well. Is Photo Vidica, I believe. Am I saying that right, do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree with you on Photo. Whether it's Vidica or Vidica, I definitely don't know.
But I tried to include the accent on it just to make it sound European. But it could be anything, to be honest with you. I think maybe the D is silent. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah.
But well done to that person who's top, because
to that person.
Because they're having an absolute stormer. Reece even said himself, it doesn't matter how good of a week I have, they just seem to have a better week. I don't think, I'm looking at the scores at the top every week, and I've yet to see them have anything other than an absolutely stonking week.
This guy is a genius, bro. He honestly, this week he had 100 points, right? Which outstripped all of us. And it puts him on 399 points, which is 78 points clear of second place, who has 321 points. So this guy is storming it. I just hope his English is good, because the winner is due to come on the podcast with us at the start of next season. So if his English is limited, we might need a translator. But whoever you are, bro, get in touch with us and let us know. But FPL tips, Becky, who are you going for this week as a captain initially?
As a captain, as usual, there is a few options. But I think it is going to be difficult to look past Kane or Son, purely for the reason that they can't stop scoring goals. And they seem to have this unbelievable chemistry at the moment, where the form is where they just keep assisting each other. One of them will score, the other one will score, and they'll assist each other. And their scoring, I know they drew 3-3. They did a Spurs. They bottled it a little bit once again, and they conceded 3. They're not having problems scoring goals at all. Spurs, they put 6 past United. They scored 3 this weekend. They've scored a lot of other goals as well. So I wouldn't necessarily rush to have Spurs defenders, but if you're looking for captain options, I wouldn't really worry too much on who you pick. Chances are, if you pick Son or Kane, you're probably going to get a very good return out of them. And yes, they're away to Burnley. Burnley at times can be a bit stubborn and difficult at home. So you could argue is a little bit of an unpredictable fixture there. But if you haven't got them in your team, get one of them in. And if they don't perform that well against Burnley, they're going to be scoring goals between them in the sort of the next few fixtures. So that would be my main recommendation, one of them two. My alternative pick, I don't know about you, Spoon, but I would say Bruno Fernandes. Purely just because he's the penalty taker, and that those are his main source of goals. Let's not hide behind that. Although he did score very nice goals against Newcastle. Sorry, Reece, but he did. And United, whether you like it or not, do seem to be getting a lot of penalties through attacking play. So if United get a penalty, he is going to be the take of that penalty. So I would say aside from Salah, Son or Kane, I would go for Bruno Fernandes after that.
I'm with you, bro. I'm looking at the fixtures. I said the past 2 weeks I've had Harry Kane as a captain. Spurs cannot stop scoring. They can't. And if you FPL wise, like Becky's just said, you have to incorporate one or not both into your team, because I've had Harry Kane as a captain now, and he's been the large majority of my points over the past 2 weeks. Spurs are away at Burnley Monday night under the lights. I fully expect Spurs to turn up the heat and beat Burnley quite comfortably. It could be 3, 4 or 5 if they get going. And again, Kane and Son will be in and amongst it, whether it's goals or assists. So whether you have them as captains or vice captains, I would certainly recommend that. With Manchester United playing Chelsea on the weekend, United are on a bit of run of form now. There's a bit of confidence there. It won't be an easy game. I think it'll be relatively close. But point-wise, if United are to get a win or a decent draw, you would fancy Fernandes. Rashford's in very good form. He was excellent against Newcastle, scored the winner against PSG. So you'd be hard-pressed not to put either of them in as well.
Of course, I don't know why I forgot to mention them, but it's difficult to also look past Mane and Salah. We've discussed earlier on the podcast about their defensive worries, but it doesn't stop them creating. It might mean that they're more vulnerable, and teams will probably look at them and think we can get at them here, but they will still score goals. And if Liverpool are going to score goals, I think we all know the two main sources of those goals, which are Mane and Salah. So Sheffield United, I think they've got a point so far this season. That's all they've got. So there's a real possibility that they could chip a few goals as well. So I would never leave behind the option of Salah or Mane if they're on your side, because they can be quite reliable.
Yeah, that's very true, bro. Just to give people some sort of context as to my kind of team this week, transfer-wise, I put Ollie Watkins in, or as I now call him, Oliver Shotkins, because he will bag goals for fun. So I put him in because he's relatively cheap, and Villa are at the top of the league, and they're doing okay. So I think they will create, and I think he will get some more goals. Ollie Watkins I've got in. One of the reasons is because of his value. He's relatively cheap. That then allows me to add a bit more, maybe sort of, in terms of midfield. What I've gathered just by doing my research thus far is that the top players that everyone seems to be picking now, as you said, Becky, Mane and Salah. I'm looking to put Salah in this week. James Rodriguez, Jack Grealish, Bruno Fernandes, Son, Kane, Jimenez at Wolves, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Grealish. There's a kind of core group of players now as the season is starting to evolve. We're seeing these are going to be the guys this season now that really sort of give you points, and they're consistently doing it week in, week out. Aston Villa defensively, I haven't checked their fixtures, but a lot of the people that are at the top of the leagues, they are picking Aston Villa defenders, because Villa have hardly conceded. Your Tyrone Mings, your Emi Martinez, people like that. So if you are looking to incorporate defenders where you want to get clean sheets, double check Aston Villa's fixture list. And if they're not playing one of the big six, you'd be hard pressed not to put one in.
100%. I would agree with that. And something else just to add in as well is that we're not really seeing much competition from the likes of your Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling's, Aubameyangs at the moment, which is surprising, because they usually, Aubameyang is a bagsman, and he was up until he signed a new contract. I don't know why that should change it, but he seems to have gone dry after that. And Man City don't look to be up to an awful lot at the moment. I know they did beat Arsenal, but it was close. And your Aubameyangs, Kevin De Bruyne and Sterling's are normally shoo-ins for your FPL team. They have been for a good couple of years now. And the good thing is, you haven't got them in your team, you don't really have to worry about them at the moment. They're not asking the question of you at the moment. So you look at your Salah, Mane, Son, Bruno Fernandes, James Rodriguez. You've pretty much named perhaps maybe a Jack Grealish in that as well. But if you look into wild card, which you're going to lose it come end of the year, so we are entering that sort of territory now where people are going to be considering it, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Either this week or next couple of weeks now, you've got to be looking to try and set up some sort of midfield of Son, Salah, Mane, Grealish, Fernandes, Rodriguez. Those sort of, if you're doing a 4 or 5, you want to try and get those in there, because at the moment they are daylight clear of most of the other midfielders in terms of points return.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that midfield, if people get that core sort of Salah, James Rodriguez. If you're looking at to have a 4-man midfield, those 3 boys right there, they're going to get you points week in, week out. And they're starting, as I say, to evolve and grow into the sides again now, and people are starting to get a rhythm. So, yeah, FPL, very exciting. It's looking good. It's looking interesting. I'm not even a big FPL guy, as we said in previous podcasts, Becky, but I kind of got the bug this year now, especially as we get the D&D one going. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it. Usually I find it incredibly stressful, but I've just gone into it with no expectations. And as is life, when you go into something with no expectations, generally you have a lot more fun. So, yeah, shout out to everybody in our FPL league. Again, remember, if you are in FPL and you're doing quite well, tweet us and get in touch with us. Which leads me lovely into my next segue. So we do have a question from one of our followers, Farquad. So shout out to him as well for always getting in touch with us. We love it when people interact with us and obviously get in touch and ask questions. And, we're always open. If you have a question you want us to sort of to go over on the podcast, we always do. So he DM'd us on our Instagram, and his question was, following the news today about a European Premier League, do you think it will happen? And what do you think will be the impact on the British game? So I'll let you kick off, Becky, with that.
Yeah, so again, this is something that we're starting to hear about more in the last couple of days. And if I'm correct in saying, Spoon, because I think you might be a little bit more up on this than I am at the moment, it's very much United and Liverpool that are leading the way from the Premier League.
Yes.
In regards to that, I don't know if there would be other Premier League clubs that would perhaps be a part of that, and to what extent the size of this European Premier League would be. I'm yet to get all the details, but again, it's one of those things that it doesn't sound like a great idea to me, personally, and I don't think it's something that the English Premier League would benefit from. I'm sure some of the fans of the other clubs would be saying, "Yeah, you guys, you know, away you go. We'll crack on without you," but they're perhaps not sort of realising the commercial value and revenue that the likes of United and Liverpool bring to the Premier League. So I don't know how smart of a move it would really be, but I'm yet to kind of be fully up on the finer details of that. So maybe you can enlighten me slightly. But my initial thoughts was, I don't really like the sound of that. Sometimes things are best left as they are. You've got your Italian league, you've got La Liga, you've got your Bundesliga, and you've got your Premier League. Why do we need to sort of mix that and infuse a European Premier League?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Initially, this goes right back to what we said the other week about greed. The idea is that competition would, to a degree, replace the Champions League. But the problem is the teams are consistent, and you will have the exact same teams in it every season. So there's no, they didn't make it this year, or they're fighting for fourth, they're trying to get in. They're in it regardless. I don't think it's designed to replace the Premier League from what I gather. According to what I got here, which is very interesting, the teams that would be in it, according to a journalist that was on Twitter, was Man City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea and Arsenal. So Spurs would actually miss out in it. You'd have Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Lyon, Juve, the two Milans, Roma, Bayern and Dortmund. So, I beg your pardon, PSG as well. Sorry, it's just seen it on there. Yeah, PSG. So that is your that's your core group of clubs that are in there. They would play each other midweek, for example, whilst the Premier League season is ongoing, as it just replaced the European Cup. What's really interesting is the finances involved, because you've got clubs there that could win up to maybe £250 million a season. And the more they progress, the more money they win. And the interesting thing about this, and we won't go into it in too much depth tonight, Becky, but it's very suspicious because it's being financed by JP Morgan, the bank. Now, I'm wondering why JP Morgan, who are worth billions and billions and billions, are all of a sudden financing this football game or this football tournament. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. There's no need. It's perfectly okay. So to answer Farquad's question, I think they're going to try and push ahead for it to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, because I've absolutely no desire to see it. The Champions League in its current format is perfectly okay. Whether this news is designed to maybe add a bit more pressure onto Project Bigger Picture or Big Picture, I don't know. Maybe Big Picture was just a smoke screen for this. I don't know. But there's no smoke without fire. I think Liverpool and Manchester United are fronting it all up. Shock Ed Woodward and the Glazers are absolutely the most greedy bastards in the world. So I'm not surprised they want more revenue. That wouldn't go towards helping Manchester United's debt, for example. That would just go into Florida pockets, and the Glazers would keep more and more money. But just to touch upon it, Becky, and give you a little bit of context as to kind of what's going on. I'm just trying to bring up some details for it now. Let's have a little look here. So it's quite I say it's not really an extensive tournament. It doesn't give an opportunity for other clubs to come in and get a slice of the pie or even really make a bit of history. It's just it's almost kind of repetitive and boring. There doesn't really seem to be any excitement about it. So as many as the 5 English clubs could sign up. A dozen teams from around Europe are said to be in negotiations. The format would be up to 18 teams with home and away fixtures during the regular European season. Top placed teams would then play in a knockout tournament. Wall Street Bank JP Morgan are providing $4.6 billion in funding, which has money laundering written all over it. We'll go over that in another day. And the tournament is designed to basically replace the Champions League. So upon getting those tidbits, what do you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure there would be plenty of interest, because for as many people who wouldn't be interested, there are probably just as many people that would be interested, especially for maybe the first season seeing this, because I'm sure there would be interest to see all those top clubs compete against each other in a league format, right? They would be called for it. But like you said, the repetition of all of these sides essentially competing in what would be, or sounds like the replacement of the Champions League, I think would go stale. It would wear off, and it would come up with some criticism of other clubs. You mentioned like sort of Lyon in there, but not Sevilla. Teams like Sevilla are very sort of established in European competition.
Yeah.
Dortmund, for example. I don't know if you mentioned them on the
they'd be in it. Yeah, they'd be in it. But
there's plenty of good European clubs, and how would they get a pathway in there? Because I'm sure they would have something to say about that. And how would other clubs get a pathway into that league and get a slice of that pie as well? Secondly, you mentioned about could it be possibly be a smoke screen for Big Picture, or was Big Picture a smoke screen for this? And I touched upon how much commercial revenue Liverpool and Manchester United make for the Premier League. So, like you mentioned, perhaps it is them trying to apply a little bit of pressure Project Big Picture, because obviously they wanted that and they were trying to push that, and it folded out. So in doing this, are they trying to sort of make the Premier League think, oh wow, we don't want to lose these guys because look how much they bring into the Premier League? So are they trying to force their hand back towards Big Picture? You just don't know. But there's something going on, as you say, and Liverpool United, they were at the forefront of Big Picture. They seem to be pushing this. So there's a lot of interest from them to be making moves for financial gain, shall we say. So I don't know the whole dynamic on it, but it seems that Big Picture and this could be linked.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what, bro? One thing I've learned from this, and I've kind of known it for a little while now, and I've tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. American culture doesn't really mix with European sport I just don't think it does. The values of European sport and the traditions that these clubs have, and the way American sport is run, for example, the Oakland Raiders and now the Las Vegas Raiders, they just took a team and moved it to a different city, ripped out its soul, ripped out its values. Oh, as long as we're making money, who cares? It doesn't sit well with me. And just going back to what Farquhar was asking, how does that impact on the British game? Well, Farquhar, I'll tell you this. If Manchester United can get a guaranteed 255 million at the end of the season by winning that competition, what's the point in showing up and beating Wolves and Everton every week? What's the point? Because they'll just save their best side for the midweek games. They'll treat the Premier League like they treat the League Cup now, or the FA Cup, and it'll become an afterthought, and they'll want the big prize, and that's it. And it's I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it. There's no smoke without fire. There's going to be an awful lot of pushback. But yeah, the time will reveal all, I guess. I mean, it's hard to say, but I'm not a fan. We in agreement there, Becky?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, but shout out to you, Farquhar, for the question again. If you've got any others, DM us and let us know, and we'll answer them next week as well. But that's pretty much it from us. Was there anything else, bro, you want to round up before we get back to it?
No, that's everything for me.
All right, cool. Well, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in this week. Again, like I said earlier, don't forget to like and subscribe. Add me and Becky up on the socials as well. We're always interactive. You know, we love speaking to you all, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And we'll be back same time next week with all the news and views. So see you then, people. Take care. Ciao.